Now that we've downloaded and registered the software, it's time to start designing. So let's get to it. I want to show you quickly how to navigate the workspace so that you can get around. But first we need to talk about your mouse. It's very important that you have a mouse with a center scroll wheel that you can scroll and click with. It'll make navigation much easier in Fusion 360. If you don't have a mouse with the center scroll wheel, it's not absolutely necessary for these first few videos, or really the entire course. But the orbit and pan tools use that center scroll wheel very heavily, so if you can get your hands on one, it absolutely makes things easier. When you first open the software, you're going to notice that there is a grid pattern as well as an origin here in the center, and you can zoom in and out using the scroll function on your computer. If you're using the mouse, you can wheel in and out to zoom. If you want to pan around that center of origin, you press and hold the mouse wheel and then move right to left. And if you want to orbit that origin, you press and hold that center mouse button and press the shift key simultaneously. As you can see, you can spin all the way around. If you happen to get lost somewhere and you're not sure where you're at in the workspace, I'd like to direct your attention to the view cube up on the top right corner of the workspace. And you can quickly press the home button, which will immediately reorient your workspace back to the default view. And if you're trying to get a very precise movement or click of the mouse, you can click any one of the 6 sides of this cube to get a top, right, front, or whatever it's labeled view. So for example, if we wanted to look top down at our origin here, we can simply click top, and now we're perfectly aligned with that origin. Then to orbit, I would press shift and the center mouse wheel, and now we can move around. And you'll see the view cube up on the top right corner reflects our movements. Across the top is your main menu with icons for your data panel, file, save, undo, and redo. Below that you have your toolbar where a lot of the heavy lifting in Fusion 360 happens. In the top right corner above your view cube, you can click to sign in or sign out and change your preferences. This is your profile and help menu. On the very bottom of your screen, you'll notice there is a back, forward, and play icon. This is your design history timeline. And as we start our first design here in just a moment, you'll notice little icons start popping up all the way across the bottom. And those represent changes that you've made to your model. And you can go back in history and edit those changes, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. Going up the left-hand side of your screen, you find your browser, and this is where all the components of your design live as you create a 3D model. When you create a new object, it pops up over here on your left-hand side. You can then hide or show them. You can right-click them for properties and quickly make changes to them, all in one convenient location. Right above your browser, you'll see the Change Workspace button, and 99% of this course is going to take place in the Model Workspace. And finally, we need to explore our data panel. On the top left of your screen, you'll see an icon with a bunch of squares, 9 squares. It says Show Data Panel. Click on that, and this is where all of your projects are saved and stored. This is where you upload other people's designs. Fusion 360 is a cloud-based piece of software, and I happen to think they got it just right. You're able to work completely offline if you choose. If you happen to change computers, or you want to share work, or if you happen to lose a hard drive or something, everything you've created is stored online, and of course you can save local copies as well. But it is a little confusing because if you want to, say, import someone else's design or component into your own, you actually have to upload it to the cloud before you can download it to your local machine. We'll get to that later, but for now, you just need to know if you're looking for where all your projects are stored, it's here in the data panel. Well, that was a lot to take in, so let's create a very simple shape so that we can put all of that into practice. And the first thing we're going to want to do is save our project so that we don't lose it. So let's start by clicking the Save icon here on the top of the screen. And we'll title this Cube and click Save. All right, so now let's actually create that cube. What we're going to do is click the Create Sketch button here on the top left corner of the screen. When you do, you're going to notice that your origin becomes a 3-dimensional space with 3 separate planes that you can choose to draw your shape on. To start your sketch, all you have to do is choose one of the 3 planes and click on it with a left click. Let's pick this plane here. And now our view orients top down so that we can start our sketch. Now let's select the shape we want to sketch. And if you click on the word sketch here in the toolbar, you'll see a drop down of all different kinds of shapes and modifications you can make to those shapes. For now, let's just keep it simple. We're going to hover over rectangle and then select a 2-point rectangle. Now you'll notice you can draw this rectangle anywhere. As you hover around, you see that it snaps to that grid, and you can start the shape of your rectangle wherever you'd like. It's good practice, however, to start your designs at the origin. So what we'll do is we'll hover over our origin right there. We'll click once with our left mouse button. Now as you drag around the mouse, you'll notice the dimensions change in real time, but we want to be a little bit more accurate than that. So we're actually going to let go of the mouse and type in exactly what we want the shape size to be. So let's make it 4 inches. So we're going to type 4 on our keyboard. And to move to our other axis, we're going to press the Tab key. Now you'll see it's highlighted. Let's make this one also 4 inches. Now press Enter to constrain that shape. I'm going to use my scroll wheel to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to press and hold my scroll wheel to center that a little bit better in my screen, and then use the scroll wheel again to zoom in. Now that we've sketched our shape, we're ready to turn it into a 3D object. So let's go ahead and come up to our toolbar, and all the way on the right hand side, you'll see a Stop Sketch button. We're going to click that with our mouse. Since we want to create a 3D object out of this shape, it will help if we can get a different angled view of it. So what we're going to do is press Shift on our keyboard, and then press and hold our scroll wheel, and then drag up to the left-hand corner. And now we can see our square on that bottom plane, but in a 3-dimensional view. Alternatively, we could come up here to our view cube in the top right corner and select a view that does the same thing. Now to transform this rectangle into a cube, we're going to come up to our toolbar and click Create. We're going to hover over Extrude. And one nice thing about Fusion 360 is that as you hover over each different tool or modifier, it gives you a quick description and even a picture of what that does. So we're going to go back up to Extrude. We're going to click Extrude. And you'll notice on the right-hand side, our Extrude window pops up, and it's asking us to select a profile. And that profile is going to be the square that we just sketched. So let's click on that profile. To turn this into a 3D shape, we have several options. We could click and hold and then drag the arrow and just drag that square into a cube shape, whatever we like. Or we can select our plane and we can type in the exact distance that we'd like to extrude that shape. This is what we're going to do. We're going to make it a 4x4 cube. So let's type in the number 4 and we're going to press Enter to confirm. And now we have a 3D shape. To view it at different angles, we can scroll in and out to zoom in and out. We can press and hold our scroll button and drag around. Or we can hold Shift, press our scroll button, and orbit around the shape like this. If we happen to get lost in our shape and we can't figure out where we are, we can always go up to our view cube, press the home button, and it'll give us a nice centered view of our 3D object. In our browser, on the left-hand side, you'll notice something new popped up called Bodies. So the hierarchy in Fusion 360 is you have the project, you have components, and then inside those components, you have bodies. Down here in our design history timeline, you'll notice two things popped up. We have a sketch icon and we have an extrude icon. And as this timeline grows, if you need to go back and make changes to your design, you can simply drag the playhead here. And as I drag back, you'll notice our extrude disappeared. And if you go one step further, our sketch disappeared. So if we look up here now in the browser, we have lost our sketch and our body. But if we drag this playhead to the right, now our sketch reappears. And if we drag one more time, now that extrude feature appears and we get our 3D model back. So that wraps up basic navigation in Fusion 360. Hopefully you were able to create this cube at home. If you weren't, go back and rewatch the video because in the next one, we're going to dive right in and make our first project, and you're definitely going to want to be comfortable moving around in the software.